Bobby and Kristen.
Hi, Pat.
So nice to see you.
Hey.
Thank you for inviting us into your home today. I remember you had a little electric keyboard over there.
That was
and now
hers.
and now you have this beautiful baby grand piano to write your music on. So I'm interested in how you started writing songs. What inspired you?
If you look way back, if I were a boy, I probably would have been pushed into being a songwriter, but I was a female and it was the 70s and I did all these shows in my backyard and, you know, sort of a la Really Rosie. I starred in them and directed them and wrote them. And I think that it was very easy to say, oh, this little kid who loves storytelling should be an actress. And it's sort of, they kind of overlooked the director-writer part of me, or at least because there was no examples of that. I sort of didn't even realize there was sort of a director-writer in me until my 20s, when I was acting. I was playing a lot of nuns in New Hampshire, but I would always be rewriting the lyrics.
I remember that show, Nuns in New Hampshire.
Nuns in New Hampshire. I would write a lot of lyrics backstage or write parodies of lyrics. And, you know, kind of drifting around in your 20s, as you do. Two people who had been through the BMI workshop, Mark Holman and Jeff Hardy, both great composers, both on separate occasions on shows that I was acting in for them, said, "You're a lyricist." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm 27. What do I do with that? I can't go back to school." And they both said, "Come to the BMI workshop."
Did you write songs before you came to the workshop?
I did write songs. I wrote bad songs. I didn't know that I was writing songs at the time. You know, I would sort of I'd musicalize things like, you know, like, "My boyfriend doesn't want to see me," to try and make life moments feel a little bit better and a little bit more like a musical. But it didn't feel like, oh, that means I'm a writer. Turns out it does.
Bobby, how did you hear about the BMI workshop?
You know, I was hearing about it. I was an early songwriter. I started writing songs when I was, 7, but then I started writing musicals at about 14, and I wrote one every year of high school for this great drama group. And a lot of the pianists from the drama group were also in the BMI workshop as up and coming songwriters, and they would all tell me about it. They'd say, like, you're as good, or, you know, almost as good as a lot of the people in the workshop now already. You should apply. But I never did until, and then I was trying to get to be Alan Menken's assistant after I graduated college. Yeah, I was trying to work in Engel my mom knew a woman that knew his sister. And so I was in touch with Faye, his sister, and she was saying, you know, Alan doesn't need an assistant right now, but what he would, if this was him on the phone, he'd definitely recommend that you join the BMI workshop. And that was maybe the 17th time that had been suggested to me, and I finally said, then that's what I'm doing. Up until then, I was bound and determined to do it all on my own, to write the lyrics, the music, maybe even the book. I kind of was so ambitious and thought that it all had to be on my shoulders and all that. And what I really learned in BMI was that I am a collaborator. I love writing songs with other people, and I do it better when I'm working, you know, with another talented person.
You know, every time I see you, you are more famous than you were the time before. This has been an extraordinary year for you. You wrote the songs to Frozen. You won the Oscar for the song Let It Go, which is not only a big hit, but it's become a cultural phenomenon. I mean, every child on this planet is singing this song. Why do you think this song moves people so much?
I think what we tried to put into that song is a sort of the complicated relationship you have with being yourself, that in choosing to not allow fear to keep you from like owning who you are, you sometimes have to take a moment to let go of meeting other people's expectations. And I think that we spend so much of our lives trying to meet people's expectations, and it can be very exhilarating and freeing to, even if it's just for a 3-minute song, just say, no, not right now.
Now, in the movie, Elsa, I understand, was originally a villain. You were going to write the villain song for her, but you wrote Let It Go. And according to legend, they rewrote the whole movie based on that song. Is that true?
That is true. I mean, to take it back and get a little more specific, we did write a villain song for Elsa. There was a draft. The first screening, we wrote a draft where she kidnapped Anna from her own wedding and took her up to her castle to freeze her heart. And we again, we're scratching at, like, let's go a little more in depth on that. And we wrote a song called Cool With Me, that there is a recording that exists, sung by Lindsay Mendez, actually. And that song was also, we were scratching it, like, she's not just a villain, she's doing it because she's lonely and wants a connection with her sister. It's just misguided. We found there was this moment that Elsa runs up the villagers chase her out and she's running up the hill, and we were still supposed to keep her kind of a villain. But we came up with this hook called Let It Go, as saying, well, she has to kind of let go of all these people she's been sacrificing her whole life for. And we started to feel a little empathy. And then we started to feel that kind of exhilaration you would have if you got to let go of everything you've been holding inside. Once we realized that, we wrote this song in a day and a half and sent it out thinking, I'm not sure if this is gonna change, if this is too complicated for what we need it to be. And Disney, they were very great about saying, yes, we're going to rewrite everything else around this song, which doesn't always happen. We were very lucky to have the kind of collaborators who would do that.
What we noticed when we were doing the version of Let It Go for Demi Lovato was the producer who was working on it with us said there's an awful lot of melodic information in the song. You have the and then he just sort of told us all the melodies and all the sections.
Like,
He
you've
was
got
like, that's too
5
much.
different melodies happening, too many things, which is why in the Demi Lovato you have
The bridge is like the same as the chorus, but just with no melody.
da-na, da-na, da-na-na-na-na.
So I guess there's something going on with music, that there's only a certain amount of information that on the radio that we're trying to feed people. And that maybe Broadway songs are freer to be more melodic nowadays. I think that with a song for a Broadway show is you're always looking for that point of change, of transformation, or of at least feeling like something about the song has changed an element of your plot to go from reverse polarity, basically good to bad, happy to sad. Something has to shift dramatically in the song. Different
people have different feelings about this, because there are examples of composers out there working with great careers who don't feel this, but I think we as a team really do hold on to something that happens, something that exists in the beginning of the song has to have changed by the end of the song in a theater song, that it needs to act as dramatic action. Not everybody feels that way, and I'm sure there are examples where we are just sort of musing on a theme, but especially in movies, you don't have that real estate to just mull on a theme for a while because the music is pretty. You have 80 minutes, and every minute has to be an arrow going forward towards the end.
Do You Want to Build a Snowman was in and it was out, and your daughter sang this song.
That's right.
Yeah, Katie sang all of the kids' parts for us as a scratch vocalist because she was there. We were able to get her. She loved doing it. We would never have made her do it if she didn't love it. And it became this sort of bonding thing with the two of us and Katie. And we'd feed her Nilla wafers on her break.
She did a song in the Be In My Workshop for your sister, Kate.
That's right.
So there's a whole new generation of Lopez's.
That's right.
One day she'll be in the workshop.
In the workshop, I always say to the writers that collaboration is very much like a marriage. A marriage counselor would be right at home advising songwriters.
It involves the same communication skills. Certainly.
What is it like to be actually married to your collaborator?
It's great. I mean, you know what? It's because we have a good marriage and we have a lot of dialogue all the time and we have skills coping with problems that inevitably come up. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage where problems don't come up. It's the same way with the songwriting team. You have to have a a mechanism in your relationship for dealing with trouble.
And for those moments that you truly get frozen in your perspective, it really is about that ability to say, okay, right now, this is what I want, this is what I'm feeling, but I am going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume...
I'm not going to brain you with this lamp.
Assume that your perspective is equally important and possibly right. Like, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day, is having the ability to shift your perspective, or at least keep from braining your partner so that they can say their perspective.
Kristen, put down the lamp.
You have a show coming up at La Jolla, yes?
Uh-huh.
Tell me about that.
This is another long-aborting piece called Up Here. And it came out of an idea that I had even before Avenue Q about doing a musical inside the mind and really kind of doing it big, actually. Not instead of having 4 or 5 characters that represent the mind or the different, the id and the whatever. This is really an attempt to kind of show consciousness with a big chorus dancing, stage effects, to do a big show about a small story. And the story is this love story.
And that's the mashup of what I was really interested in, is because I love a good romantic comedy. Give me Bridget Jones, or When Harry Met Sally, or Annie Hall. And I love it, but it's so hard to do a musical of that too. So we kind of mashed up these two things that we were both interested in, of like a small romantic comedy with a big concept, where you've got an introvert and an extrovert, 2 people who both kind of want the same thing but approach life very differently, meeting and trying to just figure it out. And the introverts, or the consciousness and the ensemble and the music, represent all the things that the introvert isn't saying. And the extrovert gets to just be your main character in a musical, who will break into song. And actually, do you want to talk about your BMI?
That's funny, yeah, because my first day in BMI, someone came in to give a talk on, the do's and don'ts of writing musicals. And it inspired me to come up with this idea, because one of the things she said that was a don't was, don't set your musical in the present day. Don't ever show modern characters, because we're less likely to believe them breaking into song, because we are modern people and we don't break into song, and the musical will seem false on stage. So with Avenue Q and with a number of the other modern life musicals that I've done, I realized you have to find that element of fantasy that does allow you to buy the character breaking into song. And for Avenue Q, it was the metaphor of puppets and education and a comic spin on children's television. And for this new show Up Here, it's the crazy surreal world inside everybody's brain, and all the characters that we kind of have talking at us that we don't even think about, or much less tell our most intimate partners about, really. It's this whole secret world inside everybody's mind that influences dramatically your interactions with everybody in your life, but that no one ever talks about. And hopefully this show will kind of bring that to light.
But I do think there's a key thing about, you heard that in BMI, and they said, have your main character be the kind of person who would just burst into song.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
Bobby said, wait, so that means I can never write a musical about me.
Well,
'Cause I would never, ever want to stand up on a table and burst into song, ever.
That's right. They said, make
Meanwhile, I do that all the time. But
yeah, it's surprising she hasn't yet for this interview.
I did already. Remember, I was like, why doesn't my boyfriend want to see me? Whatever. I like to sing.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm definitely a introverted, kind of shy person.
Except in interviews when he's allowed to talk.
Wow.
Within limits. And I thought, that's another rule I'd be interested in finding a way to break. But it's a good rule, and and I learned it at BMI, because having a self-thwarting, introverted, gray area type person doesn't normally sing. It's not a great idea to have that kind of person burst into song because it's against the character. However, those characters do have that kind of stuff happening in there, up here.